What's up, y'all? So the Carolina Panthers have lost another game. They're now 0-5, and they just got crushed by the Detroit Lions. And at this point, it needs to be talked about. Essentially, over the last couple of weeks, everyone who had CJ Stroud over Bryce Young has been taking a giant victory lap, and I kind of understand that, given how incredibly well CJ Stroud has done. Like, I was in the camp that said Stroud was better than Bryce Young coming out of college. So it is sort of validating to see that happen. But on the other hand, I do think it's too early to write off Bryce Young, especially given the surrounding core and the fact that pretty much every decision that Scott Fitterer and Frank Reich have made since taking over here in Carolina makes absolutely no sense. I get getting Bryce Young. That makes sense. It makes sense to go spend a lot of resources trying to acquire Bryce Young. What I do not get is how they did this. Bryce Young effectively has no weapons in Carolina right now. I'm not even going to talk about how their number one tight end is Ian Thomas, because that's just kind of sad in its own right. But their veteran wide receiver additions over this offseason, after giving away a true number one receiver, were washed up Adam Thielen, who's really old and really slow and not a good separator at this point, and washed up DJ Chark, who has not been good for several years at this point, and also hasn't been able to stay healthy at all during his entire career. And then it's not like the young players on the team at receiver have been doing anything either. Jonathan Mingo and Terrace Marshall effectively have been complete non-factors. It's like, you know who would really help Bryce Young right now? DJ Moore. And they didn't have to give DJ Moore up, because what the Bears wanted instead of DJ Moore in that trade was Brian Burns. But for some reason, the Panthers refused to give them Brian Burns, even though now they're refusing to pay him the extension he wants, and are maybe thinking about trading him, which really begs the question, was there even a plan here? Like, was there a single plan here on what to do with this? Because how are you going to trade away your number one receiver, and now they're looking to trade for a receiver, and not trade an edge rusher, and then refuse to pay him? This makes no sense. In addition, they also gave Miles Sanders a huge contract, and he's been absolutely awful for them. The Panthers this year have legitimately been worse than they were last year with Steve Wilkes, Sam Darnold, and Donta Foreman. And it kind of just gets worse from there. Because the Panthers, who have been absolutely terrible this year, they're the only winless team left in the league at this point, after the Bears picked up a win on Thursday night, and they lost again this week. They're the only winless team in the league right now. Their pick is currently the number one pick. And, if they had that pick, they could get Marvin Harrison Jr. next year and at least have a chance of pairing a number one receiver with Bryce Young. But right now, they have essentially no chance of that happening. Like, again, Frank Reich has not done a good job as a coach here on just a coaching level either. And, again, the Panthers' future just looks really bad. And you do have to question also, how much of this is Bryce Young's fault? Because he doesn't really have weapons around him to do anything. His offensive line's been pretty miserable. But at the same time, he has not played well at all. He's been making really terrible reads, especially on some of the interceptions he's thrown. He had two terrible reads in the Falcons game that both turned into picks, and then had another really bad one against Detroit. And, Andy Dalton had a start for this team with the same offensive structure around them, and played substantially better against the Seahawks defense than Bryce Young has played against any defense this year. And this complete lack of talent around him, it does make you question what happens if the Bears get the number one pick from the Panthers this year and Caleb Williams is available. Will this dissuade any teams from trying a trade like the Panthers did, because they're worried that they're going to end up having no surrounding talent for Caleb Williams to work with? Another thing is, all hope is not entirely lost for Carolina. There are at least a few silver linings, the first of which being that Bryce Young does still have a chance to be good in the future. The second of which is that they're not the biggest disaster in the league, which is the Giants. And, hopefully I'll make a video getting to them soon. But yeah, because they've been a complete disaster. And then third is that they can kind of easily dig themselves out of this hole, at least to the point where they can be competitive within this division, because their division is terrible. I mean, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, Desmond Ridder led division with a lot of questionable roster talent on those teams as well. So, you know, not all hope is lost, but it's not looking good for the Panthers. Hopefully they can rebound from this, but right now, it looks like the Bryce Young pick and all the decisions they made this offseason were a big mistake. And that is it, y'all. Thank you for all the support on the recent videos. Sorry for not uploading for a bit. I was moving. And yeah. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you want. And yeah.